Today is an historic day, and it's for all the reasons that were mentioned, but it's also because we have legislation going to the President of the United States that changes the paradigm, changes the approach. It says that addiction is a disease and should be treated as such. It says that the stigma associated with addiction needs to be set aside to be able to address a real challenge we have in each of our communities. Sadly, the problem is getting worse, not better. In the last 4 years, it's estimated there's been a tripling of overdoses. 129 people on average are dying every single day of those overdoses. That's horrific. But frankly, that doesn't count the many casualties. Those who may not be dying of an overdose, but who put the drug first, ahead of their families, so they're broken, ahead of their job, ahead of their community. It's causing most of the crime in my home state of Ohio today. So this is a problem that we must address at every level. This is our federal response, to make the federal government a better partner with state and local government, with the incredible nonprofits who are in the trenches every day dealing with this issue. It's to be a better partner with our families. Ultimately, this problem is going to be solved in our local communities, in our families, and in our hearts. This is an issue that, unfortunately, will continue to grow and to take more lives, to allow people to get off track, not achieve their God-given purpose unless we change our approach. And that's what this legislation does. So I'm very proud of the members behind me, of this Congress coming together on a bipartisan basis, I would say even a nonpartisan basis. I see Jim Sensenbrenner out here. We spent the last 3 years putting this bill together. It didn't happen overnight. We had 5 conferences here in Washington, D.C. We brought people in from all over the country, from every one of the states and congressional districts represented here. There's been input. We listened to people. We took their ideas, not asking is it a Republican idea or is it a Democratic idea, but is it a good idea? Will it actually help to turn the tide, to address this epidemic we have of heroin and prescription drug addiction? And we came up with a bill that, yes, to Majority Leader McConnell's point, the groups did support because they wrote it. The experts wrote it. And then we worked hard to keep it bipartisan, to get it through the process. That's not always easy. The House had 18 separate bills that they passed. And many of the women and gentlemen you see behind me championed those bills. Many of them brought this experience to them to Congress. And I think it improved the legislation to have a conference because we came out not just with more funding authorized for this effort, but also some great ideas from both sides of the Capitol. It was bicameral, it was bipartisan, and most importantly, it addressed the real needs in our communities. That's why this legislation is so important. Some have said, well, where's the funding? Well, this is an authorization bill. That's what we do around here. We put together policies that make sense to be able to spend the money that we appropriate more effectively to solve problems. So yeah, we're changing the way we're going to spend money around here. So we are focusing on our veterans, many of whom, unfortunately, have opioid addictions and need help. Yes, we are focusing on pregnant and postpartum women and babies who are born with dependency, meaning they're born addicted and they have to be treated. We are dealing with these issues in different ways. We're dealing with issues on a comprehensive basis. So for the first time, Congress is saying, yeah, we're going to put money into recovery. But we're also going to focus on prevention and education and treatment and help law enforcement and help get these prescription drugs under control so they're not overprescribed. It's very focused on how do you come at every angle on this problem. And yes, it does authorize a lot more money too. So it's in the bill. But of course we have to go through the appropriations process. And I just want to say today, thanks to some members who are here today, thanks to people like Hal Rogers, Lamar Alexander, Roy Blunt, and others, we do have a lot more funding in this year for opioids. We also have a commitment now from the appropriations committees on both sides of the Capitol for a lot more money next year. We got to be sure we're fully funding this bill. I would like to even go further, as would many members behind me, because this is, in my view, not just an urgent matter, but an emergency that has to be addressed in order to turn the tide, in order to save lives, in order to allow people to achieve their God-given purpose in life. This would not have happened without a lot of work from various people, but I want to particularly single out Sheldon Whitehouse because he was the co-author. He was there for those 5 conferences. He helped bring people in. He kept it bipartisan. He helped us get through some bumpy roads here toward the end. I also want to thank Kelly Ayotte, who's here today. She's got a passion for this issue. Like my state of Ohio, the state of New Hampshire is in the grip of this addiction. And she gets it, and she's met with the families. And she understands the need for us to act and act now. And Amy Klobuchar, all of these members put a lot of the ideas into this legislation on the Senate side, and again, we wouldn't be here without the help of a broad group of members, Republican, Democrat alike, who understand that this is an issue that must be addressed. It's our responsibility to do so. We've done so in this legislation. Let's get it to the President, to his desk for signature. Let's get the funding, and let's be sure that we can turn the tide. Thank you.